Osiris.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Corner of Gray Street podcast. I am Nolan, joined as always by co-host Bruce and a special guest this week, Alex Sohani, who was at D&T Riviera Maya in Mexico, and we are going to recap that and everything about it. But first, if you have not listened to our previous episodes, we just had Ari Fink on and Steve Lillywhite, and those are some great listens. If we do say so ourselves, you should check those out. I think Alex is probably going to top both of them, though, so keep listening.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. And coming up next week, Dave and Tim, Mexico Concerts on the Corner, the best of Dave and Tim from Mexico. So stay tuned to that. We decided to wait until after this year because we kind of felt like there might be something special brewing this year. And you know what? Alex is going to tell us all about it. But first, a little background. Dave and Tim returned to Mexico for the 7th time and the 4th time at Moon Palace. They had a 5-year contract, so next year is apparently the final one at Moon Palace, and the plan will be to shift them to another resort in Punta Cana that has yet to be completed. Bruce, why don't you take it away and give a little intro to our good friend and friend of the pod, Alex?
Absolutely. This is really exciting. And this is the first time we've had someone that was actually on the ground in Mexico to help us recap the shows. So a lot of scene setting, and especially for this young lad, as he was not only there for Dave and Tim, but more important things as well. This was his honeymoon. So congratulations, Alex, and to your now lovely wife, Sarah. Congrats. Welcome to the podcast. And we'll also talk about another special event that came from night 3 of Mexico, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Alex, welcome to the pod and set the scene for us. What was it like arriving in Mexico for the honeymoon?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here. And, this was my 5th time down to Mexico and my 3rd time with my wife, but it's just a special place. We got engaged there actually last year, and then we loved it so much we decided to go back for our honeymoon. There's no place kind of like it. Having a vacation with your good friends you've all met through the music you love, and getting to enjoy your favorite band with your favorite people is just unbeatable. So really loved it.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations. I didn't know you got engaged there as well. That's amazing.
Yeah. We met through the band. We actually met through the DMB Couch Tour page on Facebook years ago, and
Oh, wow.
it just kind of kept it rolling, and now we just kind of make it all our special events.
That's amazing. Okay, how'd you propose in Mexico?
Oh, I faked taking a beach photo, and I kind of had the camera rolling and video was rolling, and I just got down on one knee after pretending to mess up the photo camera thing on my Apple Watch, and she was shocked. Not very good audio with the wind blowing all over the place, but it was a nice moment. It was really, really, really lovely.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's hard to top there, and especially when you kind of tie the bow there, tie the knot, I guess, so to speak, and have the honeymoon there the next year. Well, that's fantastic. So when did y'all get down for the actual honeymoon? Did you get a couple of days before? Did you stay a couple of days after? Kind of give us the full picture there.
Sure. So we flew down to Mexico on the Tuesday before the shows. And actually, we had some bad winter weather up here that was going to be coming in that Tuesday morning. So we actually wound up flying out even earlier on the Monday, kind of an emergency flight, and made it work. Had a pit stop in Atlanta for the night. We stayed at another hotel right by the airport on Tuesday, and then got into the resort Wednesday morning, and they took us right in. When you get to the resort, everything's basically taken care of from that point. So, they take your bags for you. You check in, they hand you a cocktail immediately. They give you your welcome gift, and then take you on the golf cart to your room, and then you're ready for the pool at that point. So, really easy going. We wound up staying an extra day on the back end, so relax those ankles a little bit after standing on the sand all those days, and it came back on Tuesday after the shows. So it was awesome. I highly suggest the extra day on the back end if you can.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you talked about having tired ankles from standing on the sand. You get tired back and ankles just from standing on a lawn or just standing up for an entire show. 3 nights on the sand, and maybe 4 if you check out like the opening night sort of thing. How much different is it than actually standing like in the pit at a show? What is the main difference you think?
Oh, it's way tougher on the joints for sure. It's
Okay,
and
I'm not
plus
going.
you're drinking so much, and you're in eating a lot of salt and all that stuff, and it's just a cocktail for swollen cankles. And compression socks was a tip we learned this year. It was like
Ooh,
the savior, like
Oh,
seriously,
wow.
it made a huge difference. Just sleep with those puppies on. You look ridiculous, but it worked like a charm.
Dang. Okay. How does
You
it
know,
good to
compare
know.
to how you feel standing on the lawn at the gorge? Because that lawn is steep.
it's actually pretty close. I will say, like
Okay.
the gorge wear and tear is pretty similar.
Yeah.
You don't get the luxury of relaxing in a pool or anything like that all day either. It's a lot
No.
tougher of a time at the gorge, I will say.
That makes
That's a good
sense. I
point.
would camping, all-inclusive resort, like, yeah, that makes sense.
You actually feel like you're relaxed in Mexico a little bit. The gorge, you come home and you're like, I need a vacation from my vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, walking a mile and a half to Cave B and back.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Brutal.
man. Okay, so Bruce just mentioned Thursday night is the opening night. Night 0, evening 0 to some. Jason Isbell and the 400 unit open the run. Give us your thoughts on that opening show. What'd you think?
So, Jason Isbell, super talented songwriter, great guitarist. I'm not the biggest fan of his music, if I'm being totally honest.
Mhm.
But it was great to have that extra day. They don't usually have that night 0 in the venue. This was the first year they had done that, so
Mm.
it was a great way to like go in and see what they've changed about it this year, and take in all the new artwork and everything like that. He put on a pretty long show, and people were super into it. We just kind of hung back and took in the vibes, and it was just a good time. It was a good way to get the weekend started without feeling like the pressure of having to get up close and stand in an extra night in that sand. And um, we really enjoyed it.
Nice.
That's
Jason
awesome.
Isbell, also of note, is in Oscar nominated Best Picture Killers of the Flower Moon. He plays Leo
Yes.
DiCaprio's brother in the movie, and I was like, I didn't know that. And I was watching it, I was like, swear to God, that's Jason Isbell. Like, there's no way.
I
Sure
haven't
enough,
seen that yet.
yeah,
Wow.
great movie. So he's a
It's
Renaissance
like his
man.
first and only acting credit, I think.
Yeah, he was good.
You land
Um,
Scorsese, your first movie. Wow.
yeah, not bad. Not bad.
When we get him on the pod, we'll ask him about what it's like working with Leo, obviously, and who's
Yeah.
cooler, Dave or Leo.
Oh, wow.
um, that's got to be something though that they do every year moving forward is having the kind of welcoming night. That's awesome. Fish does their like welcome set or whatever, but obviously it's just kind of a shorter Fish show. So it's cool, great, whatever, but it's still the same band. I like that they bring in someone else to kind of headline that. So that's really cool. Good on them for doing that. And good for everybody for checking it out too. I think Jason Isbell is awesome. And I don't know a ton of his stuff, just know that I like what I hear kind of thing.
Mhm.
And obviously kind of like Alex said, a very, very respectable musician, and chops. Okay. So we had Thursday night. Great. Cool. Run right into Friday, I believe. No, maybe this was Thursday. The Dave and Tim sound check, which now is basically, over the years has become a thing that people kind of attend. And, recordings of it come out, and Dave basically knows he's kind of playing to an audience down there when he does that. Alex, you watched some of this, if not all of this, correct? Let us know what was going on there. How'd you do that? And what'd you think of what you heard on kind of just a whim?
So they actually moved the sound check up to Wednesday for
Oh,
Dave and Tim,
interesting.
because I guess Jason wound up sound checking on Thursday before his show. I guess he just had flown in that morning or something like that on Thursday. So Wednesday, Dave and Tim went on about, I want to say noon or 1 o'clock, and they played for about an hour.
Cool.
They didn't really do many full songs, but they did some of the stuff you'd expect, like So Damn Lucky and Oh and Walk Around the Moon. But then there's a few little gems and nuggets thrown in there. Dave started riffing some Idea of You and Shotgun, and I was jokingly texting Bruce at the time. Actually, I was like, third year in a row he's teased Shotgun here, and you're not going to hear it, kind of thing. Haha. More on that later. But it was cool to hear it. You get a little half of a show. He probably played about 10 songs, and most of it was partials, but it was really cool to be able to hear Dave and Tim. This year they kind of wizened up and they covered the stage with a giant sheet so you couldn't see anything. But in years past, you used to be able to kind of be able to sneak a look in if you didn't have one of those luxury rooms like some folks. But this year that was not the case.
Little sun protection probably too.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were didn't want to get roasted, but it was cool. You had Cha-Cha, a little tease of that, I guess. Which haven't shown up. I mean, since they played it on the East Coast last, before they went out west in the summer tour. But then it's just, I'm sure it was cool to get like a little break free and so right teases and whatnot. But I'm sure just kind of tuning those guitars, seeing what they sound like, and Dave's just kind of playing a riff. But that's cool. I didn't know it was on Wednesday. So in that case, then you've got to wait the whole Thursday and then a whole day Friday. And finally, Friday night one, those two lads stroll on the stage. Where were you guys positioned? What were the vibes like? How were you feeling? Tell us how Friday night started out for you.
So we usually try to line up early on the first night, because it's usually the quietest night in terms of a line. And we were probably about 5 or 6 rows back from the front, right in front of Tim.
Ooh.
So it was a really nice view. Got to get a great show watching Mavis Staples open. She's just an absolute queen, legend. So that really set the stage for everyone. Was just so hyped after that. She's just got so much energy at 84 years old. And
she's
then
84?
She's 84.
What the hell?
Wearing a flower crown and dancing, like, absolutely wild.
That's truly incredible. I had no idea she was 84.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's doing great for her age.
Yeah.
And and then Dave and Tim came on stage, and the crowd erupts and they kind of hit the ground running, which I'm sure we'll get into now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude.
Dave comes out on stage and gets handed the 12-string guitar. So something's up to start. Big Eyed Fish opener, first time played Dave and Tim since March 31st, 2003, and first time as an opener at a Dave and Tim show. That's quite the way to start the weekend. What were you thinking when this one started?
Well, Big Eyed Fish is probably my favorite opener in general. Just I don't know what it is about that song. It gets me so hyped up, and I just love it. So to get the weekend started with that is just unbelievable. Crowd absolutely erupted. And it was a great version of the song. And towards the end of it, it's usually transitioning into something, and you could see the look between Dave and Tim, like, oh shit, we don't really have a plan to land the plane here. They didn't really have a segue plan, so they just kind of made something up, and it sounded all right, and they managed to land the plane, and it worked out.
Oh, no, it sounded amazing. And I wanted them to keep going. And I was like, yes. And I was watching the YouTube and I look at how much time's left. I'm like, no, they're gonna cut it. Like, no, they're gonna stop. And they did. Dave just stopped. And I think Tim was probably like, cool. I mean, whatever. Like, I don't care. But it was, yeah, it was great. Fantastic version. And I mean, Big Eyed Fish right there on the beach. You can't freaking beat that.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, awesome. And they kept it going really, Grace is Gone next, Best of What's Around. Fantastic start. I mean, those 1, 2, 3, you're just like, well, hello. Those are three big ones right out of the way. And one that you weren't expecting to see, obviously, with Big Eyed Fish.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It when you come out swinging like that, you have really high hopes for what the weekend can bring, and night one just kept on delivering like that. It was just a really great way to set the tone.
Absolutely. And they kept it going with another kind of surprise with Can't Find My Way Home, Eric Clapton. And Bruce, you noted that someone I missed this on our socials, but someone commented that they wanted this song played
Yeah, they were like, when we asked what did everyone want played or something, I don't remember if it was his
this
first
year,
post or
right?
his second one. And he said, yeah, it would be great to hear Can't Find My Way Home. I don't think it's been played since '09. And they're exactly right. '09 in Vegas was the last time it was played. And boom, there it is. I was just like, I rushed immediately to that post to go comment. And the guy had already commented. He was ready to roll.
Oh my god.
He's
That's
on top of
insane.
it.
Yeah. Uh man, didn't see that one coming at all. Nobody did except that one guy. So shout out to him. But then I think one of the cool things, one of the highlights of the weekend had to be Cortez with Isbell. What were your thoughts on this? Because I've listened to Isbell before. I can't say I know a ton of his stuff, but I was just like blown away by his voice and guitar playing on this. I thought it was like a great song for him, and like him, Dave, and Tim all sounded so good together.
Yeah, it you know we all saw Jason Isbell walking up on stage, and we didn't know what to expect. We were like, oh, it's going to be a cover probably. And he just starts taking the lead, kind of like what you'd expect Warren to do, and it's
Mm.
typically Warren's song, and he just had his own personality to it, and realized as the second he kind of struck that guitar the first time, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a good one. His voice sounded beautiful on it. He just absolutely killed the solo, and there was
Oh yeah.
there was one point during that solo where they just went from the standard kind of 4/4 time and just started going to like this triplet feel out of nowhere, and it's just like, where did this come from? Um, and harmonizing with Tim, he can do it all. He's quite the talent, and I kind of wish he had stayed for more songs after that, but it was a nice long Cortez the Killer for sure.
It was. It was really, really good. They had like several different solo sections for him, which was really cool. And they really kind of kick into gear in the probably the last third of the song or so, around 7, 8 minutes, and it's fantastic. Dave and Jason were singing harmonies on there. Dave hitting some good falsettos during the jams. It was Yeah, it was just really good. I was not expecting them to have an 11 or 12 minute, whatever it was, jam out of that. And, I still felt like I wanted more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about how long that is relative to some of the longer Dave and Tim songs we've seen over the years, but hard to say.
Definitely on the longer side, I would think.
Hmm.
And that's like short for Cortez, because with Warren, I feel like it's usually like in the 18-minute range. I think that what was the one in that everyone now claims is the GOAT version, MSG
2018.
2018. Yeah, that one that one was nice. But Dave clearly loves this song. I feel like he is almost like made it his own, where like,
Yeah.
people think Watchtower as Hendrix song, like, I bet most people would probably not know this is a Neil Young song, at this point. But Dave, I thought, crushed it, and his falsettos were great, and he kinda sang it a little differently than he normally does full band, and, yeah, I kinda thought they might keep Isabel out for another after this, but I think he's a pretty busy guy right now, and he just, I think, flew back and went to, played at Radio City.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yep.
he was on the move.
Well, Dave said he had to get back to his family. He had a flight that left in like an hour, and so he's like he can't stay any longer. But thank you for coming. You know, like whatever. I was like, oh my god, you kept him out there to play. That was awesome. But yeah, Alex, I just looked it up. I couldn't see night 3 yet, but the first 2 nights, that was the only song that crested 10 minutes. So it was easily beyond anything else jam wise. And before we move on to the next cover that they did, I wanted to ask you on "Can't Find My Way Home." Dave seemed to be playing a different guitar, and Tim moved over to the Rock Bridge. I think the SJ as well. And Dave was finger picking. It seemed like it was tuned down, maybe at least a drop D. I couldn't tell the total tuning, but did you notice what guitar that was? Was that a nylon string? Like, what kind of guitar was that? I know you're a music guy.
Yeah. I should have brought that up earlier. But it was a Breedlove nylon guitar. I'm not sure how it was tuned either. I was trying to figure that out in real time. And I can only remember seeing Dave play that guitar one other time, and that was, I want to say it was in 2020 when he was doing kind of some of his political shows, and he played Windows on it one time on a stream. I can't remember exactly what the date was,
Really?
but it was the only other time I can remember seeing it. And I will find that link and send it to you guys as soon as I can. But it was definitely a Windows appearance, and I think it was endorsing Joe Biden or something like that.
Sure. I want, and because that, obviously just the sound with a nylon string is just so much more full, and you get that depth when he was finger picking, hitting those, especially those low notes on the top string. So yeah, it sounded really, really good. So that was really cool and just very interesting that he chose to do that just for that one song and just out of nowhere. Just it's so cool, so interesting.
It was, and I think Tim switching to the Rock Bridge, he was having some technical issues early on in the set. Something was going on with his pickup and his Martin, and so he was playing the Rock Bridge a little bit there, but they got that sorted out by mid-show.
Shout out Brian Calhoun for obviously building him a guitar that worked then. In that case, yeah,
no
Brian,
technical issues with Rock Bridges ever.
No, they are spot on. And speaking of spot on, I thought that this next cover that really stood out, I thought it was really good. I felt like I saw some negative chatter maybe online about it, but The Wait with Mavis Staples and Rob Stevenson, first time guesting, Dave's vocal coach, first time out there on the stage with them. Man, I thought it was great. How was the crowd? Rob coming up, did everyone seem to know? Did they get raucous? Like, what was the reaction when they announced that Mavis and Rob were joining on stage?
The crowd went absolutely wild for Rob. I don't know about this chatter that was going on online that like fans wouldn't be excited to see him on stage. He's just contributed so much to this community and to the fans, and everyone who's going to Mexico is aware of who Rob is and all the things he's done and all the generosity he's given us. So as soon as he started singing, I think that was the loudest roar I heard all night, honestly, was the fans cheering on Rob singing. So, and Mavis, obviously, she called herself the Queen of Cancun during her set, and she lived up to that during it as well. Awesome. So
that's amazing.
It was an excellent version. I think that the song, I hope it sticks around long term. I think it's just such a great spot when you have multiple guests like that, especially powerhouse singers like we had down in Mexico.
Oh yeah,
it seems like
all-time great song.
So good. It seems like that they purposefully let Rob sing like the fourth verse or something. Almost like, because it was Mavis, Dave, then Mavis, and I think Rob, and it's almost like you're building. Everyone's like, is he gonna sing? Like, what I want to hear him. And then when he did, I heard it on the tape too. I was like, oh wow, they really did get after it. He can sing, man. Like, I kind of knew it. You've heard him on videos. I mean, almost all of their vocal warm-ups, Buddy puts it on social, so it's hilarious. But Rob can sing, and you never know, kind of over a cell phone. But he sounded good. I don't know what it sounded like, not in the room, but on the sand. But it sounded great on tape.
Yeah, it sounded absolutely fantastic in person. I would love to see him guest more. You know, I think it'd be a welcome sight to many fans, and he can contribute a lot. You know, I know with Buddy there, it can get kind of crowded during full band shows, but in the Dave and Tim setting, I think it works absolutely great.
Yeah, agreed. I thought such a cool move by Dave to share some of the spotlight with Rob, with all that he's done and been a part of over the years. I think Rob guested on maybe Superstition at Seaville in 2017. Is that right? Yes.
Booyah.
Yeah. So, wow, that was 7 years, almost 7 years in between guest spots. Rob's been around a sneaky amount of time with this band. So that was really cool. Nice little reward and shout out to Rob for all of his effort.
Rob had a couple clients at that show.
Yeah.
Timberlake, Dave.
Yeah.
I think he had another. I think maybe one of the female vocalists, maybe too. But he's everywhere. I'm telling. Like, I mean, you guys know, but for people that don't know, look at his client list. Everybody, like, you want to sniff at Rob? Get out of here.
Hey, this is random, but was Buddy Ariana Grande's keyboard player at that show?
Probably.
Yeah, I have no idea. We should look it
I
up.
wonder if that's when they met Buddy, because he
Buddy,
joined the band shortly
better-
after.
You better get facts straight if you're going to bring this kind of stuff on the Corner of Gray Street podcast.
Hey, it's just a question. I'm just trying to connect some dots here that maybe
Okay,
haven't been
well,
connected before.
We will vamp until Nolan finds this answer. And
Okay,
we're
you
going
guys
to move
talk.
on in the show as Nolan looks for other great tidbits that you will only find here in this corner of the internet. Alex, the rest of the show had some heavy hitters, lots of standard fare, but a lot of, I can think, as you told me via text, like a lot of, the heavy hitters, a lot of the hits, or ones you want to see from Dave and Tim. So you had Stone, Nancy's, Two-Step Close. You had I'll Back You Up in there. Monsters, which has become a great full band and Dave and Tim song. Kind of throughout the rest of the show, what were some of your highlights, or what was your kind of favorite stuff as we've kind of hit more of the rare stuff? The rest of it was more maybe standard fare from Dave and Tim, but what was your favorite from the rest of the show?
Sure. So, I mean, you talked through the Dave and Tim stuff, but even just the Tim solo stuff, he played Betrayal and You Are My Sanity, which are just like the two biggest songs from Radio City that everyone knows. Yeah. So even the fans received that well. But, my favorite to hear at any Dave and Tim show, my favorite song is The Stone, but my favorite Dave and Tim song is Dancing Nancy's, and they just absolutely crushed that. Dave was really feeling it. He started off with a little like scatty kind of funky intro, and then gave a shout out to the Yucatan Peninsula, and then got into it, and it was just a great version. And then the other moment that really stuck out to me, just thinking off the top of my head, was during Warehouse. During the little jam towards the end, the fans start singing Louie Louie, and instead of Dave singing along to it, Tim just kind of starts soloing the riff from Louie Louie along with the fans singing, and it made the fans sing even louder, which made Tim play even louder, and it's just this really, really cool moment. And then to end a show with two-step is just like, what's better than that? And especially the first night of a 3-day weekend is just like, what the heck is coming next?
Right. Exactly. Like, what else is left on the table? You start like thinking about it. You're like, oh my God, they played all the good ones. Warehouse, as a closer, Sneakily is one of their best closers, full band, and Dave and Tim. That is awesome. That song can be played anytime, anywhere. Thank you very much, Dave. I personally loved the Dave speak about Sister, and so did Nolan, because Sister's his favorite song. And Dave told a touching story about being a cool story about being in the studio with like Robert Randolph and the Family Band, and with Batson and doing all this stuff. And then Dave had to go in there and be like, "Hey guys, you're playing some great loud music, but can y'all tone it down? I've got an idea for a song." And he played Sister, I guess, in the studio. And then he said, I walked back in and everyone was looking. Well, it was audio. So what was Dave's face? Were they just looking like wow or somber? Like what were their reactions? Do you remember what he was talking about?
It was just kind of out of nowhere, just Dave talking about Sister, and he's just started rambling about that, and then suddenly he was like, and then my daughters were holding hands, and we were just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And
nonsense,
And he split up the story. He like left you hanging. He was like, I'm gonna tell the last part of the story after the song. So he plays Sister. And then he comes back and he says like what everyone was looking at him. And I guess they were just kind of like, or they were crying or just like, whoa. And Mark Batson was just sitting there and he just goes, that shit was gangsta. And it was exactly how Dave said it. And Dave was like, well, no, it's not. But I thought that was funny that Mark was like, that was gangsta. And I was like, what a Batson thing to say, though. It's just like, yeah, that was it, dog.
We need him on the pod, too.
Big time.
Okay.
Big time.
I have some news to report.
Let's do it.
I've done some research, and while Buddy Strong did tour with Ariana Grande from 2016 to 2017, Ariana Grande did not have anyone with her in Charlottesville. It was music piped in and her performing, just her. So close, but we'll probably just give the credit to Rashawn for finding him.
That's fair. Okay. Moving on to night 2 then. Alex, how are y'all feeling at the end of night 1, moving into night 2? Did y'all get there early again? Kind of set the whole 24-hour scene for us. Why don't you? What'd you have for breakfast?
So just quick note before we move on is just that was like our post marriage show, and we were talking all day about how Sarah's favorite song is Best of What's Around. My favorite's The Stone. We got both in the same show. It's just like Dave knew what's up, and the hype was there all day. Just like, what the heck can they play that can top night 1? Just that's everything you want to hear out of a Dave and Tim show. Well, almost everything in terms of the big songs. And what do we have for breakfast? I couldn't tell you, honestly. Mimosas or something,
There you go.
That's the correct answer.
And, got our spot at the pool. We decided to take it a little more relaxed night 2. Actually enjoy the venue a little bit. Take our photos in front of the big moon art iconic structure that they have out there, and take in all they have like sand art sculptures, and they have like these cool little bar enclaves there. They have like craft beer tasting in the venue. That food in the venue is some of the best you'll get when you're down there. Unreal.
Craft beer tastings at the venue?
Yeah.
Well, that's worth a $5 or $6 grand just right there.
Go on. What kind? Get some details about this.
I couldn't tell you. I avoided that like the plague. I was like, I don't want to
Corona, Modelo.
I don't want to trust any of these sketchy IPAs that they're claiming are local down here. But no, there's anything you can think of like cuisine wise. Like you can get lo mein down there in the venue, and churros, and gosh, what else? Indian food, and it's all good. It's crazy. It's weird to think about, but it's actually good.
Yeah. And that's part of the inclusivity.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And it's all different from the resort food. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not like the It's not like the Live Nation chicken fingers and like it's actually like all unique, good stuff.
Trejo's Tacos.
Man, that's
Tacos, but
pretty.
no, not Trejo's.
Not Trejo's, man. Nothing. I mean, I love pounding some Indian food before a show. That's just a great recipe.
Listen,
Maybe that's why Dave opened with "Save Me,"
What
so he needed to
maybe.
be saved.
a combo.
Um, but no, that's a good tidbit. That's really cool. I didn't even think about just that portion there.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
okay, so actually, I've got another question that we'll save for the end. All right, so we move into night two here. Were you guys same spot, similar, a little further back? Where'd y'all go for night two?
So night two, we hung back a little bit more. We went way to the left side of the stage, kind of like past the screens, and just kind of just wanted to take in the crowd a little bit more, and take it easy. So
Was that ocean side? What's the left side?
no, that would be like towards the resort. It was
Okay.
really windy that day, so the sound was kind of bouncing around off the water on the ocean sides. We thought it might be better to go towards the resort a little more, and it was kind of the same situation over there. But it was just a more chill evening in general. I think a lot of people were taking it easy compared to night one after dancing so hard with all those bangers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and you've got a solid start. Night two, pretty. I mean, kind of standard Dave and Tim fare there, where you got Save Me, a good 41, Fool to Think, Oh, and When the World Ends were the first five. What were you thinking after those? How were you feeling early on in the show?
Again, it was just a solid start there. A ton of classics, Dave and Tim songs you expect to hear any given weekend, just knocking them out. And it's just like the end of this evening and night three are going to be insane if they knock out everything that we expect to hear by the time this night's over. Like what do they have in store? So feeling good after When the World Ends, and then we got a nice surprise coming up after that.
Yeah, you get the first It Could Happen. First time played, Dave and Tim. Are you a fan of the song? How did you feel like it translated from full band to D&T?
I absolutely love the song. It's one of the highlights of the new album for sure. I think it translated really well, stripped down, and it started off as kind of a quiet build where Dave was like really lightly picking the main riff, and everyone was like, "What is this?" And then it crescendoed and built into this really nice song that I thought would have fit better, kind of like as an E1 or something like that. But I was hoping because it was this early in the set, they might figure out a way to jam it out or make it longer. The song just ends so abruptly, and I just always want more at the end. So, but it sounded great.
Yeah, agreed. It sounded like on the tape that after the song kind of ends, that Dave said he was like, I was thinking about it, like that he wanted to jam it and like keep playing. And then he said something about being the first time, and he said, I like that little number. So I think that he was a little uncomfortable with it, maybe. And Tim was probably like, I'll do whatever, dude. I don't care. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I kind of agreed on that. Like a good E1, especially with the way that they played it that time. But fantastic song, regardless. So anyone that doesn't like it, you're wrong. The next kind of main highlight that popped up was another cover and another first time guest. And this is, of course, after Stay or Leave or Typical Situation. Alex, anything
What a
from
run.
those two before we? Yeah, what a run! But before we move on.
So the only thing I note was, I believe it was after Stay or Leave. Tim was looking a little gassed up there, and he wound up having to get a chair pulled up by Craig, and he sat down most of the rest of the show. And everyone was a little bit worried, like, oh my gosh, is Tim okay? Is he dehydrated? What's going on? And he just crushed it sitting down. He had his leg crossed and just was a total champ. And like he that's the first time I've seen the guy sit at a show, I feel like, and just total badass. What can you
Yeah,
say?
Yeah.
I thought aliens didn't get tired, so what's up with that?
Yeah, right.
No, he's fine. We are here to report Tim is fine. He without going into too much, he's just recovering from something, a little pain, and he's fine. So but that's so cool. He sat down. I mean, he always stands, and it's like, Dave, you're sitting, you're lazy. But Tim is always such a trooper. So that's awesome. I didn't realize that it was at that point in the show. So I mean, that's a lot of the rest of the show that he sat for. I had heard that, but I thought it was closer to the end. But then another first was this next cover and guest appearance. If I Fell, so Beatles cover. Nolan, you're all over that. And then guesting was John Alasia, longtime friend of Dave and Tim, collaborator with Dave on songwriting, studio work as far as, helping produce even recent albums, their first album. I mean, Alasia has been there since the very beginning, and this is the first time that he's been out on stage. So what was the vibe like in the area there? Did people, I'm sure most people, especially that you were around, knew who he was, but was it like completely different from when Rob was announced? Like, do a lot less people know who John Alasia is?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of unfamiliarity. There a lot who's that, and it was a little bit odd, honestly, because John came up on stage and I was pretty pumped. So I didn't know what to expect. And he just kind of started playing and singing like immediately. Mm-hmm. There's no warm up or like, hey guys, how's it going? Yeah. And the beginning fell a little bit flat, and then they kind of hit their groove on the harmonies, Dave and John singing, and Dave was just singing, he wasn't playing, and Tim was barely accompanying. So it was pretty much almost like a John Alasia solo special with Dave accompanying. And it was a little awkward, but it ended stronger than it started. I'll say that. It didn't fall completely flat.
Yeah, I was very excited when I saw it pop up on the set, and then watching it, I was like, "Oh, they started. Okay."
Yeah,
they're right rough. Into it.
It was weird. We were like, "Oh, cool!" Like,
yeah,
we're starting.
I guess, and then I was like, "Oh, sick Beatles song! I love this song." And then I was trying to picture how they were performing it versus how the song goes. But then I thought Dave sang it pretty well. I think that's kind of a tough song to sing, and Dave. I mean, his voice is so unique. He could sing anything and it would sound good, I think. And,
like the alphabet?
Yeah.
Yeah. The phone book. Way to go. That's what the fans on Facebook say. They want to hear the phone book.
Oh, that's it.
Do they say that?
By me. Yeah.
Only the real fans.
Yeah, if you really love Dave, he can sing the phone book and you will love it. Stop worrying about set lists, Nolan. You're such a complainer.
He should sing Monkey Man, and I'd love that. That's what I'd love.
You could, I thought that at times they really sounded good. Almost like you could close your eyes and be like, this is Beatles-esque. This is pretty damn good. And then other times Dave hit some honk notes with his voice, and Dave addressed it. He was like, that was a little embarrassing. I'm frustrated.
Purple notes?
He was like, yeah, the purple notes. He's like, I'm the one who's always out of tune. John's never out of tune. So he kind of addressed it immediately after. But it was such a quick thing. It was like John was on stage for 3 minutes, maybe. The song is like 2 minutes and 40 seconds or something crazy, and he's just gone. See ya. Thanks for coming, Alasia.
It was so fast. It was just weird. I don't know how else to put it. It was just like a very strange, like, oh, that's it, or oh, you're starting already. And after that first verse, they really found their groove with the harmonies, but it was just like one of those covers where I was like, I want to do over with Alasia, something with a little more pomp and circumstance for him.
They should have done one of the early songs, like that John helped him write or something, that they kind of co-wrote together. That would be cool if they would have done 2 songs. But regardless, that's neither here nor there. I could definitely see, as you said, it was a little awkward. I kind of felt that, like if I was there, that put myself there, that I would kind of be like, yeah, this is like a little weird and strange. It just kind of started, then it ended, and it's just there and it's over, and you didn't really know what to think. So maybe that's where, it seemed like there was also some negativity coming from people. online about it, and I still thought it was good, but I could definitely see where you may have, or people may have been a little bit like, "Whoa, that was just so fast! You didn't even have time to react."
It was a fine cover. I think it's a
Hmm.
good choice, especially for Dave's voice, like Nolan was saying. He sounded terrific on the harmonies when he was hitting them right. I think that maybe, with a little bit more refinement, and then if there was a second guest spot there, it would have felt a lot better than just like, you're on stage for 2 minutes, John. See ya. It just felt really abrupt and way too quick.
Yeah. I felt like
Yeah.
they played "Don't Drink the Water" next, and I felt like in the intro, Dave almost took out some frustration. They played a long intro, 2 or 3 minutes, and Dave just really kind of wailing, yelling through it, high, falsettos, and really kind of just. I mean, you could tell that there was some aggressivity in that intro, and I was kind of like, I wonder if he's just like, just kind of really releasing a little tension there. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyways, we had "Don't Drink" and then Tim Solo "Man Food." You get, I mean, "Out of My Hands," which actually I think is pretty good, Dave and Tim. And then "Virginia in the Rain." So how about that
Oh,
run there, Alex? You had some standard Dave and Tim fare, I guess, with the Tim solo, but also, a couple of softer songs with "Out of My Hands" and of course "Virginia in the Rain."
Yeah. So, that's a nice, that "Don't Drink the Water," like you said, was a really like aggressive and intense version compared to what I'm used to hearing Dave and Tim, and it was killer. And you needed a little breather after that. And I thought "Out of My Hands" and Virginia in the Rain" are just two fantastic Dave and Tim songs. Especially Virginia, I always look forward to hearing that one. Is it's just absolutely killer. Like, Tim just knows how to find that perfect voice during it, and it was just a nice little come down off of that intensity. Um, and it was a preview for the rain the following day, which we'll get to later.
yes. Yes. But it didn't stop there. Madman's Eyes, which I think is really cool, Dave and Tim. And then Digging a Ditch, first time Dave and Tim since 2015. I think that's an underrated tune in general. Cool that they brought that back. Then a little Jimmy thing into What Will Become of Me into Pantala. First time they've gone What Will Become of Me into Pantala since 2019. And then another Tim Solo stream, a classic, and more guests on the way. Oh Sister with Lone Bellows. I'm going to butcher her name. Is it Kaneen or Kanini?
It's
Pipkin?
Kaneen. Kaneen.
Kaneen.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. Yeah. Got it
You
right.
You got it right
All
the
right.
first time.
Kaneen. All right. That's a cool name. Oh Sister, classic Dylan tune. Dave loves covering this one, most notably with Emmylou Harris. But I thought Kaneen was really good on this. Lone Bellow was the opening act. Tim sounded great. And then more of the Lone Bellow came out for Old Man, the second Neil Young cover of the weekend. This is personally one of my favorite Neil Young songs.
Same.
And I thought it was really good. I liked it. The trading off verses I thought was good. And then I don't remember which guy sang second. I know it went Dave and then one guy and then the other guy, like with the tie-dye shirt.
Yep.
He
Neil
was,
Young tie-dye, by the
yeah.
way.
Oh, was it
Neil
a Neil
Young
Young?
tie-dye
Okay.
shirt.
Dude,
Yeah.
his voice was crazy. And I thought the crowd, like, you could tell that the crowd was like noticed, like, oh, this guy can
Ooh.
really sing.
Yeah. Yeah. The Lone Bellow, I should probably circle back on that a little bit, was one of those bands that going into the show, everyone was like, they're okay. I listened to them on Spotify. I thought they were all right. I'm not sure about them though. And then everyone was blown away when they opened. So when Kaneen came out on stage, everyone was just super hyped, and to hear "Oh Sister" and Dave harmonizing with her was just awesome. And then to have the rest of the guys come out for "Old Man," which is my favorite Neil Young song as well,
Let's go.
was unreal. That I believe the first guest to sing was Zach Williams, and he looked a little uncomfortable to start, and then he hit his groove, and then
Mm-hmm.
Brian Elmquist, who you mentioned, wearing the Neil Young tie-dye, he just killed it, and the crowd roared, and everyone was singing along so loud to it. It's amazing that they've taken so long to cover Old Man in all these years.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think Tim has played it as a solo song before. I know
Well,
he's
that's
done
because
after
he's GOAT.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I won't swear by it, but I think he has. I know he's done after the Gold Rush, and then Dave and Tim tried after the Gold Rush at one point. But yeah, man, it is a great song.
I
Yeah.
agree. And
The sound was
it's so
bouncing
simple.
around. The sound was bouncing around a little bit, so I'm hoping Sirius releases the audio like they've done the last few years. Love to hear that
Yeah.
again.
I hope
Yeah,
so too.
Ari.
We'll have to ask Ari. I don't think we asked him that question, but I want to circle back on Oh Sister. And Alex had a good point. The harmonies between Dave and Kaneen were extremely good, but I was surprised that they chose to harmonize the whole song, and she didn't have like a part. It was awesome. I love that they did it that way. I was just like, oh man, they like Dave didn't say, hey, here's a verse. They actually worked on like, hey, we're in these keys, blah blah blah. I'm gonna be singing the key of whatever, and you're gonna match it and go up, down, whatever it is. And they just sounded so good. So you could tell that was rehearsed. It wasn't like, hey, you're gonna sing verse 2. Hope you know the words. Here's a teleprompter. One of those things. And then, like you said, Old Man. Sounded pretty good. I wasn't as blown away. I think I was a little distracted. The first guy did sound a little timid, and the tape caught some of the wind and the sounds kind of bouncing around at that. So I'm hoping for a good, clean recording of that one too. Which brings me to another point. Shout out to first time tapers on this. This was a kind of an experience. From my understanding, no standard tapers were going, and our guy Zach Simkin lent his gear out to a guy named Richard Jaworski, and he took it down there and he strapped it, I believe, right around the soundboard and taped all 3 nights, and went back and gave his gear back to Zach. And I think Zach helped compile everything and release stuff. I believe they've had some issues maybe on the Dreaming Tree side or something with uploading the third night. So third night's not out just yet, but the other two are, just freaking kudos to that entire situation. Thank you, Zach, for giving your gear to someone to go down there, and thanks obviously to Richard as well for actually doing that taping and putting out just such a great product. It's such a tough place to tape, and man, I thought that was that's awesome. Just kudos to the entire just taping community. But man, best fans.
Yeah, and thank God they didn't get stopped from taping like they did night one last year.
Zach last year basically getting tackled and ejected. What was that?
Yeah, people were on top of it this year. Like protect the tapers at all costs. Like everyone knew the story. Everyone was ready to ride or die for it. So it worked out.
Oh, I would have been down there.
Oh yeah, band of brothers. You got to stick together down there.
Thick as thieves.
Yeah. So you got Oh Sister, Old Man, Minarets, Crush ends the main set. Encore, Singing from the Windows, Ants Marching. That is a great end of the show right there. Minarets with a cool intro, and then Crush kind of petered out. It didn't have the normal in your face, blow your mind intensity. With a little I Want You outro by Tim, which is awesome. Yes. But a little different. Alex, what's your take on that versus Tim melting our faces off?
Yeah, well, that kind of matched the feel of the night for a lot of people when you wind up talking with a lot of folks the next day after the show. Was the night 2 was definitely more chill and subdued compared to that crazy night one we talked about, and that way of ending Crush just kind of encapsulated that overall for a lot of folks. It's just it was a cool show, but hopefully this is just them kind of just recovering from night 1 and getting ready for night 3, kind of deal. And they delivered, so luckily it wasn't a sign of things to come. It was just kind of the calm before the storm.
Makes sense.
Yeah, when I heard the Crush one, I was kind of like, "Oh, this is cool." I guess Tim's about to really get going here, and no, he was like, "You know what? Just see you later." And it could also have been, Tim was in a little bit of pain. I mean, he was sitting, so it could have just been like, "Hey, I mean, let's just not get crazy here. Let's get to tomorrow," sort of thing. So,
Yep.
unique at least. And yeah, that Minarets intro, check that one out. That was pretty cool. A little more oomph and just different stuff going on than standard. But yeah, standard encore wasn't a whole lot interesting from the windows or ants that I heard. But yeah, so night 2 ending. What do you think as a whole from night 2 and then leading into the third and final show?
It was a strong night 2, and I think people like the format of night 2 being the more relaxed night relative to the other 2. I think that's kind of been a trend the last few Mexico trips, especially. So I think people were optimistic for night 3. There's been a lot of groundwork laid. You get two-step and ants out of the way early as closers. Everyone's wondering what's going to come next. Night 3 has to be absolutely epic with what's left on the table, and it was just straight excitement, and it just kept building all day, and then the rain came and everyone was a little bit sketched out, and it didn't matter. The show just wound up being epic night 3, which we can get into.
Well, rain aside, was there anything that going into the third night, and you said you've been here 5 times, 5 years, whatever. Was there anything you were hoping for, thinking that they would do? And then did also the rain play any part of that later on?
Yeah, so I will say in all the years I've been down to Mexico, that was the first day it's rained of any of my trips. So
Wow.
maybe it's rained like a small shower or something, but it rained all day on that night 3. And people were getting a little concerned. They were hearing about storms. But it wound up being a really cool day. Normally you're at the pool and people just kind of congregated at the lobby bars, and there's big swag swaps happening and people exchanging what songs they wanted to hear, like you mentioned. And I was telling everyone I want to hear Beach Ball. I'll never hear Shotgun again. I'll never hear Shotgun again, but I want Beach Ball. And people want saying they want Spoon, they want JTR with the Rain. I heard a Monkey Man, Nolan. To your credit, and, I don't know if maybe that was you. Maybe you were.
Whoa!
Holy shit! You have those turned on, yes.
Do it again! Yeah! Whoa. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh man! What?
What is happening right now? If you're listening and not watching, we're doing hand gestures, and the screen is going bananas with fireworks and laser light shows.
Yes, the new Mac OS does that, I guess.
Oh my gosh!
I just turned it off.
That's about the funniest thing I've seen all day.
Yeah, we got to clip that for social.
Oh man,
I don't even know what we were talking about.
I have no idea.
I don't either. I'm so distracted. I think we were moving into night 3. Okay, so it was raining. Did it stop before the show?
It was pretty consistent all day. I mean, it would stop for a few minutes and then start up again. Playa Luna does an awesome job in general with the event, but they prepared for the rain. They had umbrellas lining up the line for like the warehouse line and stuff, so you could just like stay dry waiting. And they had the music bumping, and people were handing out ponchos to everybody from Playa Luna. Like it was great. They really try to take care of us when we're down there.
Perfect. Well, you can't beat that. And I don't think I know, but who was the opener for night 3? Was there also? I would assume there was also an opener.
No opener. So the doors
Ooh.
actually they opened early. So Dave and Tim
Mm.
started playing at 7 p.m. that night, and they labeled it a very special evening with Dave and Tim, and yeah, doors opened at 6 and show started right away, basically.
Interesting.
And
That's where all
others.
the speculation began, because it said a very special evening with Dave and Tim as opposed to all the others. They just had to do that, didn't they?
Yeah, and then the rumors were going crazy. I should have probably brought that up earlier, especially after night 1. They didn't play. I think they only played one Some Devil song after night 1, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Dave and Friends reunion's coming night 3," and the rumors were flying around like crazy, and everyone was talking about how it's a special evening and all that, and it sort of panned out, but I think the labeling might have been a little misleading.
Leave it up to the marketers. Leave it up
Yeah.
to them.
Got to create
Well,
a buzz somehow. I mean, come on
well,
now.
they
And it
had
was
a lot of
special.
drinks, so there was buzzes everywhere. But the night did start. I mean, it started, it ended, and things were different. Night 3, so very special. I guess you could definitely say it was apropos. Started with Dave solo, which again led to speculation. Oh, well, Tim's not out there. What is going on? And so Dave started with a couple of covers as the sandwich in between a first time played Shotgun. So with those 3, Pretty Bird, Shotgun, and Just Breathe, all Dave solo there. Lead us through it, dude. Where, number one, where were you, and how were y'all feeling after all that nonsense?
So we loved our spot so much from night 1, we tried to get almost the exact same spot. So night 3 of Mexico wound up being my 100th show overall, so which is pretty wild. My wife prepared me a nice like tie-dye shirt with all my DMB hub statistics on the back of it, with all the different venues I've been to, and
Cool.
how many tours I've gone to and all that stuff. And she made a spectacle out of it, and it was awesome. I had a bunch of my friends there, and we all just kind of kept hyping up the night. And Dave comes out solo, and like you said, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, where's Tim? Is he not going to play tonight? Is it a Dave solo show?" And Pretty Bird comes out, and everyone's like, "Oh, cool!" Like a lot of people didn't even realize Dave had played that before. A lot of people thought it was an original, like a new kind of situation. And we later learned that was because of the new movie Ordinary Angels that it is going to be featured in. But at the time, everyone's like, I wonder why he started with this. It's really pretty. And then that little red Veillette comes out, and everyone's like, oh cool, he's going to play The Idea of You, because we heard him playing that sound check. That's awesome. And he starts fretting the shotgun chords, and I look over at my wife, I'm like, it's Shotgun. And he starts playing it, and it's about for musicians out there, I think it was a whole step lower than he normally plays it on that Veillette. And I thought it was an absolutely awesome version. I know there were some critics of how it sounded solo, but
What?
to be able to cover that song by yourself with how much is going on in the full band version, I thought Dave absolutely crushed it. A few little mishaps fretting here and there, but overall it was just really solid. I thought he sang it beautifully, and I think bringing it down a little bit was really helpful for his voice, and made the song somehow even more like somber feeling and more powerful in a way, playing it solo like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought, is that it was down for his voice, and if you're playing solo, you better have your voice. So that's probably exactly why he did it. But so curious, such an interesting thing. It was a whole step down, and I mean, it's just so cool that he did that. Like it was really, really cool. I was not necessarily, I guess, blown away by the version, but whatever. It was Shotgun Dave solo at a Dave and Tim show. just pretty awesome. And you could just tell he was just a little bit, maybe, I don't know if lost or just hesitant. And he probably leans on, that backbeat of Carter and Fonz a lot for that song. And you could just tell. But hey, Dave, how about this? All right. Come real close, Dave. Write some lyrics for the rest of the song. Stop screaming through 3/4 of it. And it will be so much easier for you and way better. Thank you very much. Co-signed, the Corner of Great Street podcast, including Alex. We just really love those early versions of Shotgun that had really good improv lyrics, and now he just kind of yells through them. And I feel like he might even want to play the song more if he would just write full on lyrics for the entire song and not yell as much. But regardless, I'm off the Shotgun soapbox. Cool version. I'm so glad he did it, and I hope everyone there was really, really glad too.
Yeah, I mean, people were like, "Oh my gosh, I could leave this show happy already." At this point, that's just a killer way to start a show.
No.
And I think there was a lot of optimism, at least from my group, of like, "Oh wow, he took it a whole step down. Maybe it's easier on his voice. Like maybe they'll actually record this thing at some point. Maybe in a different tuning." So who knows? We'll see. They brought back Break Free, so you never know.
That's quite the leap. Oh, he tuned it down for his voice. They're going to record it in the studio. Like,
yeah. People say crazy things in Mexico. Let me put it that way.
Well, I thought it was an awesome performance. I really liked it, and I mean, it is one. I don't know how he plays that riff while also singing that song the way he does. Like that's crazy to me. I mean, that is an easy song to get lost in. Kind of like You Never Know to me. I mean, I know Dave is an absolute wizard, but it's tough if even he gets lost playing that one with that riff, and then the way he switches back and forth between the riff and chords, and like you said,
like he bailed on it a little bit.
He did. And there was one part where he like kind of paused on one of the last notes, and he like made a face, and the crowd started laughing. I thought that was funny, but overall, I mean, much more subdued version of Shotgun. So cool. I love that he did it. I mean, as awesome as it was, I would have liked to hear Tim on acoustic because I don't love Tim on electric on it as much, but I think him on acoustic would have been so cool. Also, I would have liked to hear him on Just Breathe as well, which came up next. And then to go back to Pretty Bird, just a little quick background on that. It's a Dave cover of Hazel Dickens' song. And the song is featured in the new film Ordinary Angels, like you mentioned. And I saw the trailer for this movie maybe like 2 months ago, and I think it's The Space Between. It was like in the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, that's a random song to have in a new movie coming out." And then DMB Social like tweeted it out or whatever, saying that like Dave's production company discovered the story back in like '08 or something, and now it's turned into a movie with Hilary Swank and Alan Richardson, aka Reacher, aka Thad Castle. So shout out,
Thad Castle. Yeah, that's
shout
awesome.
out to Thad.
Well, the real question is Hilary Swank hot?
Yeah,
I'd lean but ask Stanley and Phyllis and
Thank you. I was wondering. I was like, did that go over both of their heads?
no, of course we know the Office references.
I'm making sure. Thank God. God, I was worried there. I was like, ooh, tough crowd. Okay, so we get out of the Dave solos. Tim strolls up, and here they play "Seek Up." Fantastic opener. Run us through like the start of the show, the real Dave and Tim show here over the next few songs. How was it? Obviously there, but how were you guys feeling, and how was the band, so to speak, performing here? Because I really haven't heard most of this.
Yeah, so Just Breathe, just circling back really quick, is just always welcome. I think Pearl Jam and DMB fan base cross over so much, and that's just a fantastic song for Dave to sing solo. And I was surprised to hear it early like that. I feel like it's been played in the encore almost every other time. I can't confirm that, but I feel like it has. And then Tim strolls out, Seek Up, and it's just immediately Tim is just wailing on the bass notes. Just start the song. He's trying to do his best Fonz impression, and it really set the tone. You know, the crowd just erupted, and the rain starts trickling down a little slowly, and it was just an absolutely beautiful, killer version of Seek Up. I can't say I've heard it many times, Dave and Tim. I think it's only been played like 3 times in the last 20-ish years, Dave and Tim. So, yeah. During
we look
the
it up,
jam,
but the almanac is currently down.
Dang it.
Yeah.
They're doing server upgrades, but on the Seek Up really quick, that outro was pretty good. I was really titillated by that. I obviously wanted more and more.
You were titillated by it.
Yes, always Seek Up outros. Okay. And that one was special. And Seek Up has been played that few times, David. I feel like that they play it, and that is bizarre. They played Seek Up like 2 or 3 times last year, and both of them were, I mean, all of them were so good. And good. That song better be played a lot more this summer, because man, they're crushing it, and obviously crushing it on all fronts at this point.
I'll have to go back and listen to some more Dave and Tim tapes, but I hadn't heard an outro like that on Seek Up ever. It just went into like this kind of beautiful, like, feel like you're strolling in the meadows kind of outro, and I was like, whoa, this is unbelievably beautiful. I've never heard anything like this. So I got to check out if they've ever done anything like that before, but it really did feel special. A great way.
7 years since the last Dave and Tim Seek Up, 2017, over in Milan. What are you doing?
What? How's that possible?
I don't know why a lot of things are possible, and that's one of the many great questions that I'll probably never know the answer to. But yeah, such is life.
You know, there just needs to be more Dave and Tim shows in general. Mm-hmm. We just need more of it. I need another Dave and Tim tour, because 2017 was great, but it left me wanting way more. And sometimes it's hard to make it to Mexico in February, in the middle of hoop season. So maybe a nice spring Dave and Tim, or ever. Maybe a nice spring or fall Dave and Tim tour would be nice. Maybe.
Yeah, we got to get the corner of Gray Street represented down in a Dave and Tim setting at some point. Get the GoFundMe.
Yeah. I think what we'll do is we're going to start a GoFundMe right now, and to get the Gray Street Pod guys down there. So everyone that's listening, go ahead and chip in. Just let us know how much you're willing to Venmo to our hypothetical GoFundMe to let us drink and eat, drink, and be merry down in Mexico in 2025. We're also going to bring our wives, so that's 4 people total here. So, you know, we're racking up the bill here, but it's no little thing that we'd need. But
what a transition! What a
transition by such a professional on the mic. Over into little thing there, and I think Alex, maybe it was you that pointed this out to me, that it did start kind of pouring rain right in the middle of this song. Yeah, take us there, dude. Like, just, we want to live right in this moment right now.
You know, little thing is just, it's become a staple of night 3 in Mexico. I feel like I've heard it the last 3 or 4 times we've gone down night 3. And I can't, the almanac's down, otherwise I'd confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And
thanks, Dan and Rob.
Almanac taking grenades tonight.
They do great work. I lean on that site way too much, you know.
Oh, of course.
So, but you know, the song starts. It's, you know, maybe drizzling a little bit, not enough rain to notice, and that chord progression gets started, and it's just like, oh man, Dave's gonna start doing some crazy wailing. His voice is sounding beautiful, and it gets into the rain down on me, and suddenly it's just, the sky opens up, and just perfect timing in sync with Dave singing "Rain Down on My Head,"
Oh,
and it was just special,
Oh,
just like a little like religious experience for Dave fans. Just on one of those intangible moments at a show where you look at a set on paper and you can't describe how good that moment was.
that's
chills.
awesome.
It's really special.
Can't make that up.
Special.
That's great. Following Little Thing, do you remember Rapunzel? I think Rapunzel is very cool, Dave and Tim, and not one that used to get played a ton, but has gotten a little bit more run in later years. But another debut for Dave and Tim. All You Wanted Was Tomorrow. One of my favorites off of Walk Around the Moon. How did this compare to album, to full band setting? How did it compare
It,
to other Walk Around the Moon songs that you heard this weekend?
I thought it translated actually a lot better than I expected. Before the weekend started, my wife and I were trying to peg down like what songs would they play off the new album. We've already heard most of them, Dave and Tim, and we kind of settled on It Could Happen and All You Wanted Was Tomorrow. And it started off great. Dave's just playing that little Jimmy Think sounding riff, and Tim's playing some great accompaniment. And then as soon as they get into the chorus, I guess it is, of the song, you hear Dave just go, "Oh shit," in the mic. He forgot the part, and Tim just without a hitch, Tim just starts playing that main riff on the chorus. All the little boys and girls or whatever that part of the song is, and um, and Dave's just sitting there like, I don't know what to do with my hands, and just singing the part. It was pretty funny just to hear him audibly go like, "Oh shit," and then look at Tim, and Tim's just like, "I got you." Yeah.
Tim's
But
the
it sounded
best.
great. Tim is the main attraction, in my opinion, of Dave and Tim. Like I look at my camera roll and it's all pictures of Tim. Like
Yes.
I watched that guy the whole time.
Yes.
But yeah,
It doesn't make sense what he can do. It truly doesn't. He knows everything there is to know about the guitar.
Yep.
yeah. Oh yeah. And I wish he'd play acoustic more at the full band shows, like you guys said, because he's special when it comes to the acoustic guitar.
I'm
Just
pretty
nothing
sure
like it.
I'm pretty sure Tim taught the guitar how to be built, to be honest. It's just one of those things. And
He made the first guitar.
yeah, he did. And
About the right age for
then,
that.
Yeah.
yeah, he's an alien, so he's like 700 years old. But I haven't listened to that, so I am excited to hear that one. Then you've got The
Also,
Maker. What's
yeah,
that?
I was gonna say also, they didn't really know how to end All You Wanted Was Tomorrow either. So they landed the plane on that one too, but it was one of those things where it's like, all right, I guess we're gonna just stop. And Tim was kind of playing by himself towards the end there, but it worked out.
It's honestly one of my favorite and least favorite things about Dave and Tim is the being unsure of when to end and just kind of staring at each other. It's the best, but also just like no, like so frustrating at the same time. Maker and Billy's next. I think Tripping Billy's. There's been a lot of talk about, or some videos of how hard it was raining, particularly during Tripping Billy's. So, were you under a poncho? What was going on?
No, we decided no poncho. We just figured we just embrace the rain.
Attaboy.
And I think if you asked, most people who were there what they remember about the show, they'd probably say Shotgun and then Trippin' Billy's, because
Oh,
Dave had this amazing Dave speak before the song about how he's a pacifist and he just wants peace for everybody. And then, you start the opening riff on Trippin' Billy's and the rain just immediately starts coming down and everyone gets their ponchos on or just starts having their hands up to the rain and it's just like an epic fish style dance party. It reminded me of going to a fish show, honestly. And
oh,
it was amazing. Like another one of those, you can't see this on the paper on the set list, but it just was just another, probably my favorite Trippin' Billy's I've seen, just because of how the crowd was, how Dave was feeling it, and the rain.
Nice. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm just noticing that both of you are wearing Dave and Tim flag right now. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I got
Why are you not? This is the Dave and Tim episode, not a Duke episode.
I'm repping my boys after we were attacked in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, I mean solidarity. Um, that's such a cool moment. Kind of reminds me of the stuff from this past summer up in New York. I think that Walk Around the Moon, it started raining, and then they played JTR. And yeah, just stuff like that is really, really cool. And speaking of cool, this next Tim solo song only played twice ever, Dave and Tim. And the last time it was in 99, back in that famous March 99 kind of Dave and Tim era.
Ooh.
Corante, and I believe this is like the Bach song, and it's like this really long thing that I would know the name of if I could read it off of the almanac or somewhere. But I know that this is one of those things that only Tim, MF, and Reynolds would decide to play.
Yeah. Something cello suite. I don't remember the key, but it was awesome. The only thing I will say is I wish the crowd would just shut up during Tim's songs. Like, God,
Good
people
luck.
are so rude.
Chompers.
Tim playing. We'll get to that later or during his next song because they actually shut up during that amazingly.
Okay.
But
Probably because they knew it.
He was unbelievable.
Man. Yeah, everyone shut up when Tim's playing.
I'm excited to hear that one.
It sounded great. It really did.
That one might make it on our Concerts on the Corner.
Ooh.
Make this good.
Corante.
Yeah.
I think there are a few more things that are going to make it on Concerts on the Corner coming up. But before that, Love or Lay Down, YM. YM is always pretty cool. Dave and Tim, a rarity, if you will. Do you like that song, Alex?
Oh, absolutely. Love or Lay Down, I believe, is also a lot rarer than it should be, Dave and Tim, these days. That was pretty great as well to hear. YM, I always love the song, but then you got that amazing video behind, and you got the rain too with that song. It was just awesome to be able to dance and remember Leroy, and just great vibes all around for that when that comes on.
I think that riff sounds really cool on an acoustic. I like that. I wish Dave would maybe try that every once in a while. Full band. But Ocean and the Butterfly, Too Much, and then another first timer, Dave and Tim, You Never Know. And Dave just this song is now 22 years old from when it was released officially. He's just been finding new ways to surprise us with this song in the last 3 years, and that is awesome. I mean, that shows you Dave is really thinking about different stuff that he can do for the fans. So, I mean, how did you feel seeing this, and was it as magical as it sounded?
You Never Know is, I think it's a pretty consensus top 10 DMB song for a lot of people, and it's pretty crazy that Dave would attempt it solo before even Dave and Tim after all these years back in the gorge that you guys were at.
Yeah,
but it sounded great. Tim was joking with Dave before the song. He was like, "How does this one go again?" to Dave, and then they of course he hits it without a hitch to start the song, but it sounded great. There was one little I believe it was one of the choruses that Dave just forgot the last two lines of, so there was a little bit of an awkward, let's just play an instrumental here while Dave makes awkward faces at the crowd, and then they got it back together. But otherwise I thought it was pretty seamless. No mistakes in the music or anything, just a few forgotten lines. So
this is a tough one to sing to. I think Dolan said that earlier. So we forgive you, Dave. And maybe if you want to perfect it, play it more. That's all I got to say. Just play it more. I mean, that's all we're asking. It's just play it more. And I feel like they have the last several years. You Never Know has been much more of a staple. Full band. So hopefully, if we get more Dave and Tim and Dave solo stuff or whatever, that won't be as rare because it's just truly incredible. Great song. top to bottom, and everyone knows it. And if you disagree, well, I don't know. We moved on to the next Tim solo song, "In Your Eyes," which really, really cool. I was unaware that Tim had ever played that solo, to be honest. And I think it was only the second time. I believe he had done it at like, it was on that 2017 tour, maybe SPAC, one of the bigger. Okay, it was SPAC. Okay, I knew it was one of the like for some reason I was thinking Man or SPAC. I don't know why. Probably I saw like a video from like a balcony and then knew it was like one of those. But yeah, so you were saying that the crowd actually became respectful for one of the Tim solo songs. So how was "In Your Eyes"?
So I guess I lied earlier because I think this was another moment everyone would say was the most memorable part of the show was, Tim got started on "In Your Eyes" and the first few chords, everyone's like, "What's this?" And he starts on that main iconic verse riff of "In Your Eyes," and the crowd just immediately went quiet. And it's a beautiful cover Tim does. I had seen him play it on like YouTube for his channel before, like in a solo setting, just in a quiet room. But once the crowd got into the chorus, the crowd started singing along, and you could tell like Tim was trying to hold it together because it was like a really beautiful moment and really touching. And the crowd just everyone who knew the song was singing along to the main parts of the song. And after it was all over, Tim took a few bows and looked super grateful. And Dave came out and he's like, "I got to release that for other people to hear. That was special, and it sounded amazing. You all sounded beautiful." And hopefully that's a sign of the show being released to come. But it really was one of those just, I can't believe this just happened. How has this not happened more? And when you have crowd involvement like that, it's just there's nothing like it.
That's amazing.
That's great. Shout out Peter
Really?
Gabriel.
Yeah. How about cover that one this summer? Obey. I think that would work. I think they could do that very well. And yeah, I really hope that becomes something that Tim does more. Although, same time, it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, I hope it also is special for that moment. And maybe they do it, another time ever. But regardless, that's really, really cool that y'all got to experience that. I'm becoming more and more jealous as this episode goes on. And, speaking of jealous, I'm going to get really jealous here in a minute, but we have a little run here prior to getting jealous. Looking for a Vein, first time I ever played Dave and Tim. Hopefully that was beautiful. I have not heard it yet.
It's just a tiny little song. It didn't sound too different from what you'd expect. It was just great.
Do you remember
like it should.
Okay, what was Tim playing? Kind of that like ambiance, kind of backing a little bit to it. That adds what I think just adds perfection on the song live or in the studio. I would just really like. Well, not in the studio. Tim was not on the song. It was just Dave. But live when they played it, and Tim kind of adds those nice notes that just, I don't know, they're touching, I feel like.
Yeah. It was a lot like what you'd hear at a full band show if you just took Carter out of it. It's really what it sounded like. And I thought it was terrific. That's another song I wish they'd figure out a way to jam out a little bit and
Yes,
have a little dig in a ditch jam kind of situation with that. We'll see. Maybe one day.
I agree with that. That'd be nice to hear. Then they followed up with You and Me, and the show ends. That was it. Yep. Weekend over.
Have a
Nothing
good
to
one.
see here.
Nothing like a You and Me closer.
Man, that's up there with Sister Jimmy thing to close. So that's so cool. Glad you guys had a great time. Just kidding. Trey Anastasio comes out and hops on the piano because of course he plays the piano also for So Damn Lucky, one of the songs he played on on Some Devil, Dave and Friends. Welcome back, Trey. That's become a thing now in Mexico. You've seen a few of those, I believe, and I'm sure that never gets old.
No, never gets old. This time was a little different because out of nowhere, Trey just kind of just runs up on stage, gets on the piano, no announcement, and they just start going right into So Damn Lucky, and to the point where I had a friend who had left during You and Me because that's a P song, and heard the piano going off, and he's like, I wonder who's guesting on the piano. Like, and they weren't showing Trey up on screen. Like, he had no idea Trey was up there until he got back to his spot during Dodo. He's like, oh man, that's Trey. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I had a hard time hearing that piano when being there in person, and I'm curious to hear the soundboard of that as well. But I was listening back to the studio cut recently, and I just had forgotten how much of a prominent piano part there is. So I'm really hoping that tracks with the soundboard recording of it. And it was nice to get that little mini Dave and Friends kind of reunion, for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video, and it was a little hard to hear the piano as well. You could hear it a little bit in the beginning, and then I didn't really notice it a ton after that. But I also didn't know Trey played the piano, so that's cool to find out.
Yeah, he's the one on Some Devil that did it.
Is that right?
He played on the studio cut, yeah.
Of So Damn Lucky.
Yeah, he's actually got some okay piano chops. Probably like a little bit. Dave's better than he says he is, but past Dave on the piano side. But nothing crazy. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to hear it too, because like Nolan said, it was a little iffy on being able to hear it on the YouTube, and sounds like unfortunately the same thing there.
That beach wind.
Yeah.
From the back, apparently you could hear it great, but when we were close to the stage, it was just one of those things. I couldn't hear it almost at all outside of the intro. So
yeah, but it is fairly prominent. That was an astute observation. It is fairly prominent on the studio cut, and when you listen back to it and you think of it, dong dong, and it just has that almost like a secondary percussion to it. Just that kind of offbeat, but really cool. Really looking forward to hearing a real clean version of that. Then you get Dodo, which y'all get seemingly now every year almost. It's the only place you can hear Dodo for the most part. A Dave and Tim show, but most of the time only in Mexico.
I'm hogging it. My bad, guys. I'll tell them to keep playing it for you guys in Mexico, so you guys can have the YouTube videos as memories.
Cool, thanks, appreciate that. But the kind of prelude to that, they did release some backstage of them rehearsing Dodo, which, by the way, shout out to Rodrigo and D&B Social. While they were down there, they did some new stuff. Some of that behind the scenes, sound check, the rehearsal videos. Keep that content coming. That's what we are looking for. That's what we love. That was primo. So thank you guys for that. But it was really cool to see, and you could tell that this was like the first time Trey had heard Dodo in probably quite a while when they were backstage, and he was just really kind of like, oh yeah, oh yeah. But they did pretty well, honestly, on stage. And I think everyone was lost besides Tim at one point or another in the song. So just really cool. And I just wish they had actually jammed the end. And it seemed like Trey was a little hesitant to actually go off. And he was like, no, I'm going to stay, in my lane and just play that little riff. And in the video, Tim is like looking at him kind of like playing along. And it seemed like Tim was like goading him, like, dude, no, you can do this. And Trey's like, nope, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun. And that's all I wanted was a just ripping, like, Trey just go off, but we didn't get that.
No soup for you?
It's pretty clean. Pretty clean version of Dodo. They got lost a little bit, like Bruce mentioned there, but it was pretty short and sweet. You could tell they had rehearsed it especially the vocals. You know, Trey sounded great, but he really wasn't highlighted as much as you expect from those old Dave and Friends shows, those crazy outros. So,
Yeah.
a lot of anticipation for the next song of like, oh, is this going to be a Trey song kind of thing? And it delivered there, but Dodo's always special, you know, and to hear it kind of in its original vocal form was kind of nice to see for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. Apparently it is extinct everywhere but Mexico. So got to go to Mexico if you want to hear that one. Thank you for putting up with the jokes. If you're still listening an hour and a half into this, but you might as well keep listening because we're here for the finale up on Cripple Creek with Trey. And we have a special request by a friend of the podcast, Ryan Storm. You have to talk about Trey's tone. It is so unique in this version. Trey's tone.
It was good.
So good and so different from how it is with Fish, man. It was so different with the wah.
Yeah,
Seriously, it was great.
He sounded terrific, and he finally got kind of a highlighted song compared to the other two, where he was more in the supporting role. It was very much Trey up front and center. His guitar was the most prominent thing you could hear, and he got to jam out and do some of his bluesy, funky Fish nonsense that we all love. So
yeah, this was his best song by far. It was so cool, and first time Dave and Tim closing a set. So that was great. Great cover to choose.
It was
Dave
perfect.
and Friends throwback.
It was perfect for all of them, and it was like they really kind of hit their stride there. And it was like, man, if they had another song or two, I think things were really about to happen, which can happen with guest spots. It's understandable, but you can tell that those three guys, they really do have a chemistry, and if they could have been able to expound upon that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, truly though, Nolan is right. Trey's tone was really cool. I mean, akin back to late 90s Fish era, 98, 99, maybe a little 97 funk, everybody.
Definitely 97. I was thinking more 97.
Okay, well, we'll amend it to just 97 for Nolan, the Fish addict.
Thank you. Very reminiscent of Amsterdam 97, Bruce.
That's also astute. I love it, and I was really surprised the first Instagram video that I saw of it. No, wait, it was Alex. Yours was the first video that I saw, and then we posted it on Instagram. Yeah. I'm like, what am I thinking? I remember seeing it on Instagram. It was our own video.
It was Alex. Alex sent us. Alex with the content, crushing it.
Any of the videos
video that went through.
Yeah. Well, any of the ones that you saw, thanks to Alex, they were by him, from him, fully on him. And so kudos to him, and thank you, obviously, for all of that. And we wanted to be able to post some of that. But yeah, I was just floored by the sound there. It sounded so good. But okay, so what was you're heading into the encore now? You're kind of coming down off of Trey being on stage. What was the vibe in the crowd? What were you guys thinking, hoping for? What were you like? I can't even pull a song out of my ass at this point to even know what they could play in an encore. What were you guys talking about?
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was just such a great show that it felt like it flew by. It felt like it was way too short, ended too soon, even though they had played, more than a typical full set. And it was just such shock from all the great cover spots that you pulled out, having Trey come up on stage, the crazy rain dance party we all had for 2 hours there. I had no idea what was coming. I didn't even think about, the obvious way to close the show that wound up coming to fruition. But I was like, I have no idea what they could play here. Like maybe Stay. I don't know. And it wound up being a pretty great encore. Some Dave and Tim classics, as we'll get into.
Yeah, they wrap it up with Funny How Time Slips Away, Cornbread, All Along the Watchtower, and then I believe I read it correctly. It was a double encore where Dave comes back out for Some Devil solo which is just a treat.
Yeah, it was a double encore. Funny how time slips away. I love that cover. It's nice and short, highlights Dave super well. Obviously, he loves Willie, and it's always really sweet for him to talk about his good friend Willie Nelson and give him some tribute. And then Cornbread is not a song I necessarily love or anything like that, but Dave and Tim is just, it's on another level. It always hits for me. I had totally forgotten they hadn't played that all weekend, and Dave was really feeling it. He got really funky during that little scat number he does. He didn't motorboat, which my wife was disappointed about. But otherwise,
Well, it was your honeymoon, so
A+. Yeah, you got to share the love with Dave. It's okay. I understand. She's a hall pass. And Cornbread is fun. And then that Watchtower, you guys got to listen to back to that Watchtower if you haven't yet. That was a special version of Watchtower. I'm used to seeing that closeout shows, and there's times where I'm like, oh, okay, like it's a Watchtower closer. It's a good cover, but they really just were feeling it, and Dave was screaming his heart out. And I have never personally seen it at a Dave and Tim show, but they went into the Stairway to Heaven interpolation there during the song, and Tim's playing those crazy, pentatonic riffs, getting the solo down, and Dave's wailing, and it was just awesome. And the rain had stopped at that point, and we were all kind of just like, whoa, you stopped the rain with this song. Like, how in the world this happened? It was just really special way to close the show. And I think the energy of that and the crowd just roaring after that is what made Dave want to come out and do one last song, which was Some Devil, which, like you said, Nolan, is always a treat. Surprising they hadn't played it earlier. I think it's become kind of a tradition to end the weekend with a slow number and calm the crowd down and let us all go relax and say goodbye to our friends.
What a cool
Well
way.
said.
Yeah. What a cool way to end, though. I know that Dave has ended several Mexico weekends kind of with a quieter tune. I think he's done Windows. He's done something else. Maybe that was quiet.
Did he crash into me one year?
You Crash.
That he's done Waste before. I wasn't there that year, but I know they closed with Waste before. And then Some Devil. Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's kind of a cool way. It's just almost like a send out. And Dave is aware of, when people are arriving late or when they're kind of leaving. And I think that, sometimes he's just like, I'm going to play you a walk away song for those that had already left. You wouldn't be one of those fools, but but yeah, I think that's really cool that he did that. And I'm really excited to be able to, really dig my teeth into night 3 when the tape comes out, or if there's any sort of serious stream or any other sort of release with it. Yeah, I think that it top to bottom looks like a very nicely flowing show, and yeah, just fantastic. So obviously wrapping up the weekend with that, you guys have to walk out of the venue. It's your 100th show. You've got a ton of friends. You've got your newlyweds. Y'all are on your honeymoon. What was that feeling like walking out of there and ending, that portion of the weekend, but still carrying all those memories with you?
Yeah, it was really special, which is a pretty cookie cutter answer, but I started falling in love with Dave Matthews Band and Dave and Tim from hearing the Rapunzel single on some random sampler I had gotten back in 1998, and my mom had given it to me. And to hear them play that at my 100th show with my new wife I had just met, or I had met through the band and just gotten married to, it just was like a full circle show moment, and it almost felt like you were floating when you left the show after something like that. And shout out to my wife Sarah. She's just my best friend and my person, and she made the whole night special, and obviously the weekend was special for both of us. And it really is hard to evaluate this weekend compared to other Dave and Tim experiences because I have so much emotional weight in it. I think it'll always be my favorite Dave and Tim weekend just from all the personal connection I have to it. So it was just unbeatable, and to be able to celebrate that with our friends that we've made from all over the world, with our favorite band, was just the perfect way to celebrate our new marriage.
Yeah, that's a smart answer. You sound like you've been married a while. You gotta, yeah. That my favorite one was the one we were after we got married. That's smart. Good job.
Nah, I believe him. I believe him.
Of course, no, yeah, but smart. You could have said, "Well, they played my other favorite songs that this other year," but no. Nice job. Final thoughts and rapid fire to wrap up this episode. Okay, number one. What are your top 3 things that you have to do while you're at David Tim, Mexico?
Okay. Number one would be just go and check out one of those poolside shows if you like one of the openers. There's nothing like being able to sit in the pool. Like, for instance, the year that Molly Tuttle came and opened for DMB, I was a huge fan of her.
Hmm.
Just from what I had heard, I had never heard of her before they announced her as the opener, and I'd been listening to her before that, and it was being front row in a pool watching her flat pick like that was just unbelievable. So if you like one of the openers, there's nothing like being 8 feet away from them while you're sipping a cocktail in the pool. Number
Yes.
2, I don't. They have all kinds of cool events. So after the shows, they'll do like karaoke at the main stage where people will just get hammered and sing really bad covers of, gosh, don't stop believing, and it's fun. Everyone else is singing along, and some people are actually really good, and you're like, oh my gosh, like these guys should open for Dave and Tim. But it's fun. There's like a silent disco they do one
I
night.
saw
There's
that. That's
the
awesome.
dance club that people go to, and so just make sure you take advantage of those events. um, and then number 3, I don't know if it's anything specific, but I think it's everyone's so friendly and open to meeting new people. I know people can feel like it can be like clicky down there, so just make some new friends. Like say hi to your neighbors, and it's really easy to do. A lot of people are friendly and trading swag. And we came home with we took a picture of like all the swag we had got in Mexico. It covered our entire queen size bed at home. Just people are so generous and creative. So just try to make some new friends. And if you have a little creative bone, bring a few little knickknacks to hand out and make some new friends. And then you have a vacation where you can kind of have adult summer camp with your buddies without having a plan. As we all know, it's hard to do as adults with all our family commitments. So yeah, just embrace everyone being there for the same reason.
Perfect.
That's great.
So, I mean, to piggyback off of that, what was your favorite memory from this particular weekend?
Ooh, I I think it has to be show 100. And oddly enough, of all the special songs, Rapunzel, my wife looking back at me and being like, it's the song that got all of this started for us. And it's just hard to keep the emotions in when you hear that. So that was really special.
That's perfect. What other than that, favorite song from the weekend?
Oof. Um, hmm. I think I'll go with God, there's so many. I think I'll go with the In Your Eyes, the Tim cover.
Oh,
I think that was also something really special, of just goosebumps immediately when you heard the crowd start singing like that. And it was just so prominent and beautiful and loud. And you could see Tim getting choked up a little bit up on stage there. And I think it affected everyone similarly.
wow.
that may be your answer to this next one, but maybe you have something else. You've been 5 times, I think. What's the best thing you've seen in those 5 trips?
Oof. Um,
Putting you on the spot.
there, there's been a handful of really special moments. So maybe I'll drill down a few that come off the top of the head. But I believe it was 2020 when I'm with her guested, and it was the first time a violin had been up on stage, and the
Mm.
crowd since Boyd, and the crowd went crazy, and that felt really special at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Molly Tuttle and Dave singing John Prine's "Speed at the Sound of Loneliness" last year. That was really beautiful, and that sticks with me for some reason. And then I've been lucky enough to see 3 Trey guest spots, and I'm a fan of Fish, so that's always just a treat. You know,
That's awesome.
he's played 6 different songs in 7 song spots in those years, so he's not playing the same thing over and over again, which is just great. Oh, and actually, the real answer is, I just thought of this. 2022, my first year down there with my wife, and they had one of the poolside shows was, I forget their name. It was this drumming duo, and they came out and guested to close out night 3, and they played just the most epic version of Warehouse you'll ever hear.
Yep.
It was insane. That was probably my favorite thing I've ever heard in Mexico. Straight up, that Warehouse was
Wow.
nuts.
I wonder if that'll be on the all-time best of Mexico Dave and Tim concerts on the corner that will be coming out soon. I don't know. You'll have to tune in to find out.
Nice tease there. Okay. Favorite D&B song, and if it's Rapunzel, then second favorite D&B song.
No.
Okay.
My favorite DMB song is The Stone.
Oh, look at you two.
Yeah, it's
Stone
easily
buddies.
The Stone. Oh, stoned again.
Yeah. I feel like I know the answer to this, and everyone probably knows the answer. Everyone has the same answer, pretty much. Favorite D&B album.
Oof. Might surprise you guys. I think it's Busted Stuff. I mean, Lily White Sessions, but Busted Stuff is, I think, it's my favorite.
Finally, someone doesn't say BTCS.
Shout out Steve.
I just love every song off of that album. Like it, it's just awesome.
For sure. Favorite D&B live release.
Can I cheat and say DMB Live 25?
Yeah,
Sure.
that
Not really.
okay.
Yeah,
That'll work.
that counts. Yeah,
it's a compilation. Otherwise,
counts.
I really love Radio City, Dave and Tim. I do. I know people like Luther College better, but I prefer Radio City for some reason. So
Solid.
I mean, great answer. I think that's a good one. I like DMB Live 25 too, so that's everyone should. Okay, you had the shirt that your wife made for your 100th show. How many venues have you been to? This is just an off the cuff question. And what is your favorite venue that you've been to?
I think it's 40 venues.
Okay.
Mexico is now my most common venue after this year, which is weird to think. The Moon Palace, but my favorite, I think. I mean, there's no place like the lawn on the at the gorge, but I think close would be Alpine. And being inside at Alpine, if you can get a seat anywhere inside, the acoustics there are unreal. Just hearing the crowd sing along to Every Day was just like mind blowing at Alpine.
Sweet. All right, and best show you've seen. It's the last one, so you got to make it count.
Oof. I got to say show 100. The next one. It's always a good time.
Boom. Perfect. The 100 show, man. The honeymoon in Cancun. Alex Sohani. Honey, honey. Thank you for obviously joining us, man. Thanks for obviously also updating us throughout the weekend, sending us some videos and some texts and giving us a feeling of what it was like on the grounds there. Why don't you let everyone know, honestly, where they can follow you and you and your wife's journeys if you want. You can promote whatever you may have to promote. And as you will continue to go to more and more D&B, David, Tim, and all of those shows, people might find some good content your way as well. So go ahead, man.
I'm not much of a social media mogul, but I do post some D&B stuff every now and again on Instagram under Sohani36. I think I've been tagged in a few things by Corner of Gray Street with the videos that were mentioned earlier. So check them out.
Check them out. I have one more question for you. People may recognize you by the orange hat you're wearing.
Yeah.
Can you explain the orange hat?
Oh, you know what? That's actually a good story here. So my first year going to Mexico, I still lived in Atlanta at the time. And I was on my way to the airport and realized I didn't bring a hat. I didn't bring any sunscreen. I was like, I gotta buy a hat. So I literally stopped in a gas station on my way to Hartsfield Jackson and bought just a plain orange hat off the rack. It was this or camo or something else. And I just wore that all weekend, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, like you gotta wear that because I can find you at the shows, and like, it makes it easy to go to the bathroom, and it makes it easy to get our group together at the pool and all this." And it just took off a life of its own. Where I tried to retire it at one point. I was like, I don't necessarily love the attention all the time, and no, it's been kind of a staple, and obviously Sarah and my now stepdaughter Chloe, she has her own orange hat and she comes to shows with us, and it's just we're kind of the orange hat gang now, just off of a random gas station purchase that's taken a life of its own for $8. So
That's awesome.
Well worth it. That's a huge ROI you've been accruing there off of the orange hat. We also purchased gas station hats in West Palm one year, and they became a thing within our group as well. We have to bring those out again out of retirement one day, maybe.
I think so.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Nolan, always great, my friend. Alex,
yes.
We hope to see you in 2024 somewhere, somehow, some way. But thanks for joining us, man, and providing us a ton of insight on the ground there, Mexico this year. Like I said, the honeymoon in Cancun. Congratulations to you and to Sarah. Please give her our best as well. And we appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. If you're still sticking around, nearly 2 hours in, but this was all extremely important. And if you didn't stick around, you can't hear me right now, but that's not very nice. That's rude. But for those of you that did stick around, if you're not following us, follow us social media. You know where to find us, Gray Street Pod, pretty much everywhere. Leave us a nice rating or review if you're so inclined on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the things. Yeah, five stars.
5 stars.
Appreciate it. Thank you all so much for listening. And we've got something special coming up very, very soon. Again, Best of Mexico, Dave and Tim, all time, going through every show, all of the performances that we can get our little paws on, and creating the best concert that we can here for you all. That'll be releasing here very, very soon. Maybe some 2024 gems on there. Concerts on the Corner, Dave and Tim style, coming at you very soon. And we'll see you all next time on the corner of Gray Street.
Osiris.